Number 20? How is this only number 20?
But I gotta say, I have a complicated relationship with this film.
This movie actually gets better with hindsight.
Join us as we take a quarter century worth of blockbusters and count down the highest grossing all the way to number 1. Coming up, it's Etalk presents the top 25 movies of the last 25 years, part 2.
Deadpool and Wolverine takes the number 20 spot on the list, grossing over $1.338 billion at the box office in 2024. The third installment in Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool series follows Deadpool and Deadpool 2 in 2016 and 2018 and sees the potty mouth anti-hero teaming up with Hugh Jackman's Wolverine to save his universe from being vaporized. Very simply put, this is a love letter from Ryan Reynolds to Wolverine and some of the other superheroes he had growing up.
It's a love letter to these pre-Marvel Cinematic Universe films, the Fox Studio films, that I find in modern day and before this movie really weren't getting as much love, but that are movies that we all grew up with, like the X-Men films, and I think it's really a positive thing that they decided to kind of pay homage to those movies with this one.
I don't think that audiences care that much about universes. They care about characters and people. You can keep your MCU. Like, I want the people that I love, and I want to stay with those people, and those they are my world.
But I gotta say, I have a complicated relationship with this film. Because when I found out that Hugh Jackman was coming back as Wolverine, I felt a little bit tricked because the 2017 film Logan is one of my favorite endings and deaths for a character in like the history of not just superhero films, but the history of movies. I thought it was perfect. Even Hugh Jackman came out and said, listen, I'm not going to play the character again. But that notion of bringing back like dead or moribund characters is such a key part of the plot of this movie that I ultimately think it worked.
It did.
Yeah.
The thing was, I could see that Wolverine with Deadpool was a whole different tone to anything that I'd done before in the other 9 movies.
I take issue with number 20? How is this only number 20?
Because it's R-rated.
Yeah.
You are saying that a huge demographic of moviegoer can't come to see this movie. And yet Ryan Reynolds got this win, that he made this movie and it became the highest grossing R-rated movie of all time.
I liked the movie. I thought it suffered a little bit under the weight of its own ambitions, but in the same breath, like part of its ridiculous narrative overreach and just throwing everything and the kitchen sink in the movie, I think is also like in some ways part of its charm.
I think the timing of its release was also what made me receive it. There was nothing else like that.
Right.
The type of humor, the type of ridiculousness, the type of, oh my gosh, did he actually just say that on camera? I felt like I was being naughty watching it.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I think the fact that John Levy had worked with both stars, with Hugh Jackman on Real Steel, which I think is an underrated movie, and of course with Ryan Reynolds on Free Guy, a really fantastic, fun movie. I think that actually showed in the final product, because Wolverine and Deadpool are two very different characters, and Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds are two very different actors.
We got to make this audacious, funny, action-packed movie, but it's ultimately a movie about friendship, and it got made by friends.
I look at Deadpool and Wolverine like a package that was not just what we were watching in the movies, but the whole media train and the hype around it. Ryan Reynolds has established himself as a genius marketer. As fans and celebrity journalists, this is the kind of thing you want from your movie stars. You want them to entertain, not just in terms of what we see in the movie, but outside of the movie. And they just delivered.
No, 100%. And we did all we could do as well, matching that energy using one of our sharpest tools. The parking lot at this building has such a rich history with award shows and big interviews, and it meant a lot for the culture. Echoing again what Lainey was talking about, we ended up winning a Canadian Screen Award as a result. But this is also just a drop in the bucket in terms of what the effort that they put in to make this movie what it was. At number 19 is Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, earning $1.342 billion at the summer box office back in 2011. It's the 8th and final installment in the wildly popular Harry Potter film series, which dominated box offices across a decade starting in 2001, and starred Emma Watson as Hermione, Rupert Grint as Ron Weasley, and Daniel Radcliffe as Harry Potter.
Okay, let me get the elephant out of the way first, right?
Okay.
It's impossible to talk about Harry Potter without talking about its creator, J.K. Rowling, who is a controversial figure who has said many things that I vehemently disagree with. But, you know, it doesn't mean you have to turn your back on these ideals and this community. And we do that knowing that its creator kind of betrayed the values that she herself put forward.
And with that perspective in mind, you as a big fan of the franchise, what's your relationship to this movie in particular?
How many times have you watched that movie?
At least 30.
At least 30. Wow, that's incredible.
I don't think I've
Yeah.
watched a movie 30 times.
No, it really hit me. I mean, just seeing all these people who just kind of, some of them were camped out for days, and it was just the scale of it was just huge.
Well, this is the conclusion, right?
Talk to
So this is after everything that Harry and his friends have gone through and the big evil who is Voldemort. This is them all coming together. Hogwarts rose up.
Yeah.
And all their allies to fight evil and prevail. It's kind of what we want. I have interviewed Daniel Radcliffe at least 12 times. I have been on set. I watched him grow up literally before my eyes. And so there's something about that where, of course, I'm not related to him. I'm no one in his life, but he's someone in mine.
Right.
Yeah. And this franchise, you know, the books and the films mean so much to so many different people. I think this film is really important because it sticks the landing of a franchise in a way that I can't think of any other film doing.
Well done.
Maybe
Yeah,
the third Lord of the Rings movie, but that was only 3 movies. This is 8 movies. But then it also has a perfect epilogue where you jump ahead 19 years and you see our 3 main characters, our 3 main heroes sending their kids off to Hogwarts. That was just like more tears in the movie theater when I was watching it the first time.
It's something I'm very, very proud of. You know, proud of everyone who's worked on it for the last decade or so, and I think I hope it's the film that you guys deserve.
For someone who is not a huge Harry Potter fan, describe like what it gives you, because people who love Harry Potter love Harry Potter. I've seen grown adults buying little wands. I'm like, how much is it? What?
I have 3 wands.
3. Part of what I really like about these films is that everybody is extraordinary in their own way. My favorite character in all of Harry Potter, and especially because of what happens in this movie and the revelations, is Severus Snape. This character that you're led to believe is pretty evil turns out to be not really evil at all, and he was doing things for a reason. He was protecting Harry.
The MVP.
And it's only revealed in the end. I love a great love story. One of the great stories of unrequited love is Severus Snape and Harry's mom, Lily. One word that Potter fans will remember is always, right?
Yeah.
That word that he says about how he will always love Harry's mom.
I just want to check with our senior staff here to make sure that we do have emotional support for when we're done this segment, because the two of these two are emotionally invested. Number 18 is Black Panther, tallying over $1.349 billion at the box office in 2018. It's the first black superhero movie in the modern day Marvel Cinematic Universe and stars the late Chadwick Boseman as T'Challa, the king and protector of the fictional African nation of Wakanda, as he's challenged for the throne by Michael B. Jordan's Killmonger. This movie was a game changer. I don't care if it was a made-up place in Africa. There was something about that was just so special.
When I look back in 20 years, I can tell my kids, okay, I was a part of this project that came out, that kind of shifted things.
And it became one of those movies where everybody's all dressed up, and I seen people go into other films and they had different themes. This was something that I could join in on and be proud of. I never actually experienced a movie where I was like, I think I'm more excited than most people here. Like, you know what I mean? When you guys are talking about Harry Potter, I'm not that excited about it, but I get it. And I have a certain respect for it. This one felt like mine.
for me, I already was such a fan of Ryan Coogler from Fruitvale Station from 2013. One of my favorite movies of the last 20 years. He's so good. And then he gave us Creed, right? Which kind of, you know, I didn't have high expectations for a Rocky spinoff. And then for him to give us Black Panther, it's the highest rated superhero film of all time in terms of aggregate critical score.
Wow.
It's the highest grossing box office for a solo superhero film of all time. It was also the first superhero movie to be nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars. And that's not even talking yet about what you touched upon, the themes, the idea of this narrative being an important counter-narrative to the reality of European colonialism on the African continent.
It's an African superhero movie. It's like, what? You know, it's like 90% of the cast like speaks with an African accent, including Andy Serkis.
I love this movie so much. I mean, I am an MCU nerd. What I think the real genius of this film is, from like a story perspective, is that it gave the MCU the person I consider to be the MCU's greatest villain in Eric Killmonger.
Oh.
Superhero movies, you know, like, they're very good guy, bad guy, right? It's very just black and white, right? Eric Killmonger is the most complicated, the most layered villain, because this is not just the bad guy. He had a point, right? You know, you can't come out of that movie being like, the right guy won. You came out of that movie saying, for a long time, a lot of people lost. And this is the consequence of losses that were forced upon them. The genius of that film is the villain, not the hero. You can't make over $1 billion without other demographics coming and wanting to be a part of it too, respectfully, right? And so it was done in a way that it was respectful and loving towards the Black community and those who were wanting to see a Black superhero and a Black story, but it wasn't like not for you, for other people.
And it feels like it's ours. Yeah, it really feels like it's ours.
But now everybody's.
And yes, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Welcome to Wakanda.
Near the beginning of the film, T'Challa, Okoye, and Nakia, they go to a Korean city called Busan. They made sure that the Korean accent that Lupita was using is the Busan accent. So kudos to Ryan Coogler and his production team. If you are talking about inclusion, and if your film is about diversity and making people understand the value and power of it, you want to talk levels? Layers. They made sure that Lupita learned Korean in the right accent for the region that her character was in.
It's classy, it's high frequency, and it's just a consideration that creates added value to the film. The Super Mario Brothers movie is number 17 on the list, making over $1.36 billion at the box office in 2023. The animated film, co-produced by Nintendo, features the classic Mario video game character voiced by Chris Pratt, teaming up with Princess Peach, Toad, and Donkey Kong to save Luigi from the evil Bowser. Let's go back to the casting for when we first all heard about this, because it had a lot of people talking about the movie before we even seen it.
And that has to do with Chris Pratt, because as you said, Chris Pratt voices the Mario character, and like, Mario's supposed to be Italian, and so you know how the internet is, right? People were like, what's it gonna be like? Is it gonna suck? Like, is he putting on an Italian accent? Anyway, Teddy, let us know, how did this go over in the end?
Where's Chris Pratt from?
Not Italy. I did not love the voice performances for the most part in this film.
Right.
This movie's really fun. It's very colorful. The world is exciting if you're a Nintendo fan.
It makes for a really fantastic and sentimental experience to go in and see this film. It's loaded with Easter eggs, and even if you've never played the game, you're gonna be introduced to why people have fallen in love with these characters.
Everything from Duck Hunt to Kid Icarus to Donkey Kong, and so on that level, I really liked this movie. But there's not a lot of there in terms of plot. Sometimes it feels a little bit like a 92-minute commercial for Nintendo. And to me, part of what made it underwhelming, I'm sorry to say, is some of the voice performances. You know, I was excited when I heard that Seth Rogen was going to be Donkey Kong, the giant ape from the video games. But every time he laughed, it was just Seth Rogen laughing. And to me, that brought the film down a little bit. The standout in terms of performances, in my opinion, was Jack Black as Bowser. That was a really entertaining part of this film.
I have to giggle a little, Teddy, when you're like, what's the plot? Because I don't know that the game has that much plot.
This is an origin story about Mario and Luigi, these two fellows from Brooklyn drawn into a fantastical world. But then that's about it.
Yeah.
But I think that people who play the game aren't there. Do they play it for the plot? It's not like Lara Croft.
Well, I played the game.
For the plot?
So I guess this is like you reading the what do you call it, Harry Potter books?
Tell me if you played the game for the plot.
Yes and no, because a big part of the game is like knowing what your assignment is, knowing what you're trying to achieve, and then like the each level is a sort of different part of the story. But I'll say this: I can't say that I was blown away by the movie. Neither did you or you. It made a lot of money. Why?
I think you touched on it. I think a lot of people, even casually, have played Mario games or spin-off games, and I think the worlds as represented in the movie from the games were pretty well realized.
I know, but nostalgia doesn't always work at the box office.
But I think it felt like hanging out in the video games for longer, and to me, that's what it's down to.
I love Super Mario. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you. I have debated getting Mario and Luigi tattoos.
Really?
Oh, it's such a good part of my childhood.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you this: if they put out another Super Mario movie, I'm there.
I will go as well, and I will go in the same mindset that I went into when I saw this movie in the theater, which was kind of just putting my mind in neutral and enjoying a bit of a nostalgia trip, and not expecting a Pixar narrative.
At number 16 is Avengers Age of Ultron, which grossed over $1.4 billion at the box office in 2015. The sequel to 2012's The Avengers saw the biggest stars in the Marvel Cinematic Universe coming together in one film once again to save the world.
It's interesting because there are 4 Avengers movies, and of the 4, this, though it still made a lot of money, though it still did all right with critics, is the least well critically reviewed, and it made the least amount of money when compared to the other Avengers films. And I actually think that that's kind of justice, because I don't dislike this movie, but to me it is the weakest of the 4 Avengers movies. Just a few years before, obviously, we had that first Avengers film, and seeing those characters on the big screen as a team for the first time, lightning in a bottle, it was absolute magic. This basically closed out phase 2 of the MCU. Had to spend a lot of time introducing themes and elements for phase 3, sometimes at the expense of keeping us engrossed in the moment with the narrative.
I'm waiting for somebody to come and be like, I hated the film, and here's why.
You're terrible.
You were terrible. So, how come you were so terrible in this film?
Why did they recast you?
The thing about this movie is I agree with you in the moment, but this movie actually gets better with hindsight. One of the things to love in this movie, and this matters, sorry, Tyrone, I mean, this is real MCU geekiness, but what matters about this is once you consider all of the MCU films up to and after Endgame, then you look back on Ultron and you realize that was the last time all 6 OG Avengers fight together as a team.
Yeah.
They're together in other movies, but they're doing things. They're going on a mission, or they're like going back in time and doing things. But for all 6 of them, the OGs, to be together fighting on the same side, Ultron is the last time they do that.
Yeah.
So there's some nostalgia involved, which makes Ultron age better than it was received and how it popped in its time.
Iron Man to Thor to Captain America to the first Avengers, there was just a bunch of really kind of smart, cool people behind it, and I think you sense that when you watch them. They just got that extra special something.
But do you still think it's the weakest of the 4 Avengers movies?
Yes, but that's like saying, an A- is the weakest of a grade.
It's still really
you got
good.
an A+, you got 2 A's and an A-. It's not the best.
Yeah.
But it's still better than like Super Mario.
Yeah.
Why do these movies do so well? Is it that community aspect that we talked about, or like what is it?
So many factors. The
Yeah.
celebrities who are playing them. Like, think about who we're dealing with in the OG6 alone.
Were those names all that big then, or is this their stepping stone?
It came simultaneously.
Joss and Marvel have kind of like hand-picked, actors from every kind of corner.
Yeah.
It's like the Olympics of acting.
And we're the indie, no-budget twins.
One thing I love about this movie is we take a character like Hawkeye, who I really like, played by Jeremy Renner. He's given a lot more to do in this movie, and you learn more about his personal backstory. Same with the relationship between Bruce Banner, the Hulk, and Natasha, Black Widow. One of the things that I don't think landed really well for me with this film was James Spader as Ultron, and I may be in the minority on that, but in the first film, we were given Tom Hiddleston's Loki as the villain, and he was such an effective villain because he had that mischievous trickster nature. But overall, the film's great, and wow, a lot to do in this movie narratively, and I think mostly they pulled it off.
Okay, we've made it to number 15 on our countdown. On this episode, we covered a very famous wizard, a Nintendo classic, and of course, more superheroes. But we're gonna pause it here for now. Look out for part 3.